What's going on YouTube, IGTV? Welcome to the Credit Plug channel where we talk about how to build credit, how to establish relationships with financial institutions, and how to get you access to high limit funding. Now, I'm making this quick video just to address one issue that I see that's prevalent throughout the credit building industry, I guess. So I did a video about this a while back about AU trade lines and basically what the role of AU trade lines are in regards to building credit. So I am actually a proponent. I support AU trade lines just in their ability to raise your credit score. And it's pretty effective as far as, increasing your scores, pretty quickly, usually after the statement closes. Some banks, they'll report even quicker, but AU trade lines are used as a stepping stone, not necessarily a crutch. So what I see sometimes is that it might be someone with a newer credit profile, or basically kind of starting out, or people who are rebuilding, where they might add 4, 5, 6 trade lines to their account, and they don't necessarily have many of their own primary bank issued accounts. And so the reason why, and I think one of the assumptions is that, although trade lines do benefit, your numeric credit score, they do raise your credit score. However, when you're applying for something and you're undergoing underwriting, is not making the decision based purely on what your score is. It's assessing your overall credit profile. So it's looking at your primary accounts, what your limits are, what your current utilization are, what your high balances are. So AU accounts aren't taken into consideration when you apply for something. So you could have, 5 AUs and maybe, one or little to no primary accounts. And even though your AU accounts might be high limits, that doesn't mean you're going to get a high limit, because ultimately during underwriting, AU trade lines are not considered because, legally it's not your account. It's not your true assessment of, the ability to repay. So it's not factored into what your credit limit is, although it does impact your score. Just remember, there's a difference between your score and the information that's used for underwriting. So don't just think that by adding AUs that you're okay, that's all you need to do. You need to also make sure you focus on building your own primary accounts, because remember, AU trade lines are not really your account. The goal is to have your own accounts, not just piggyback off someone else indefinitely, because as an AU, you don't have control over that account. What if someone decides to close the account? Then what is your credit profile going to lean on? So it's just as a stepping stone. Another thing, if you have derogatories, things like that, you could still add AU trade lines. Nothing wrong with that, but don't think that that's going to fix the derogatory item. The derogatory item still has to be addressed. The trade line is not addressing that issue. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. And then the next thing too that I wanted to cover too is, a lot of people are utilizing some of these non-traditional, I guess, like store cards. A couple that come to mind are like, My Jewelers Club, Suncoast, Hutton Chase. Some of these other, basically you can open an account. They usually will give you a high limit, like, 2,500 or 5,000 or something like that. So those accounts, although I'm not knocking those accounts, because I know they do have some value, but overall, there's a difference in how, like, store, merchant credit type of accounts work as far as the scoring algorithm versus bank issued credit. And so bank issued primary, so let's say you get a My Jewelers Club 5,000, and you get a primary bank issue card for 5,000. That bank issue card is going to have a lot more weight as far as your credit score, because bank issued credit is a more stringent underwriting process. For these store cards, anyone with a social security number can get approved. It's not, they're not doing a credit check. So those types of things get discounted. So sometimes when people say, or think, okay, I can get this $5,000 My Jewelers Club credit card, or it's not even a credit card, but a store card, thinking that $5,000 account is going to have a tremendous impact. And not to say that it won't, because it will affect like your utilization and things like that. So it does have an effect, but it's not equal to a bank issued. Ultimately, you're going to want to get focus on bank issued, because even if you're applying for bank issued, they're not going to use that store jeweler card to assess what your limit will be. Just because you have a 5,000 store card doesn't mean you're going to get approved for an unsecured, $5,000 credit card. Now there are exceptions, like Navy Federal, where they just give out high limits, to pretty much everyone. But most institutions, just because you have a My Jewelers Club, the underwriting's already accounting for that. So I don't personally recommend those, because the money that you do spend, you could open up a secured bank issue card that'll unsecure with no annual fee, so you don't really have to waste money. You could use it anywhere, whereas you're kind of forced to buy stuff that you don't really need. $80, $100 here and there. That money could be put into a secure account, which has better long-term benefit, as opposed to a jewelry club card that you're probably not going to use long term. And if you are, then I don't know what to say. But yeah, so just those are just some things I wanted to flush out there, just some misconceptions. You're going to want to focus on your own accounts. Don't just rely on authorized users to be the majority of what's holding up your credit profile. Yeah, it's a stepping stone, it's not a crutch. So just make sure that if you are getting AU trade lines, that's when you should be then trying to get your primary accounts, because what it's doing is pulling up your credit profile to a point where certain credit products will become available to you, because you may have gone from one credit profile, let's say poor credit to fair credit, or fair credit to good credit, by adding the AUs. Use that to get your primary accounts. Don't just get those and just think that you could just start getting high limits. You still have to build out your own and have that data, that primary data, because that's what's being included in the underwriting. So that's all we wanted to share for this video. If you have any questions, you could DM us or hit us up on info@creditplug.com. Until next time, you'll take it easy, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.